In 2024, I did a challenge where I would take and post a hard photo every single day. And after 366 days, 366 photos, and 366 unique ideas, I'm still not done. You might have thought that after a full year of coming up with photo ideas, there would be no ideas left, especially when some of my photos came out looking like this. Ew. What? But no, there are a ton of photo ideas that never ended up seeing the light of day, mostly because those ideas were too big or too elaborate to be done properly within the 24-hour time period that I gave myself for the daily challenge. But now, I am free of that, and I think it's finally time to give some of these photo ideas a fair shot. For this video, I researched deep into my own notebook and chose 5 different ideas that I want to try. I'm only doing 3. I'll explain why later. So, the 5 photo ideas that I decided to use for today, I of course have written down here in my trusty notebook. And in order, they are Don Quixote windmill fight, splitting baseball in half with Muggsy, red light camera, shadow boxing, dunking in my underwear. And to help me start knocking out a few of these ideas, I have my buddy Josiah coming over to help me with, I guess I'm gonna do these in order, Now, being that these ideas are pretty big, I had to get some props to really bring these ideas to life. So, me and Josiah headed to a few different stores to get what we needed for the Don Quixote photo.
Test 1, 2.
Audio test, 1, 2.
And now is, I think, the perfect time to explain the photo idea and how exactly I come up with these ideas. Because a while back, I did a Q&A where a lot of people asked me how I come up with ideas. How do you come up with such amazing photo ideas? And honestly, my answer wasn't that great. I have no clue. The way my brain works, things just pop up. I don't really know how to say it. So I think the Don Quixote windmill photo is a perfect way to explain how my brain works and how I come up with ideas. So let's start at the beginning. In 1605, Miguel de Cervantes published El Ingenioso Hidalgo, Don Quixote de la Mancha, also known as just Don Quixote, a novel about a middle-aged man who was a big fan of chivalry romances, and after reading a few too many of them, he eventually believed that he himself was a knight. So he sets out on these fake adventures that he believes are real. And one of the most iconic moments in the story is when Don Quixote charges a windmill, believing that it is actually a giant. Now, honestly, I've never read Don Quixote, but growing up in a Christian household, I watched a lot of VeggieTales. You know VeggieTales, the Christian cartoon with the talking vegetables and the silly songs. Trust me, there's a connection here. Everybody knows about that. But what less people know is just how many parodies they did. Like parodies of Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, even like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They also did a parody, or like a retelling, of Don Quixote. And this VeggieTales episode was my first exposure to Miguel de Cervantes' story. So growing up, when I heard of Don Quixote, I pictured Archibald the Asparagus. Fast forward to 2021, the movie Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, was released, and I loved it. One of my favorite parts of the movie was the soundtrack, with songs like Heartbreaker, I've Gotta Be Me, and The Impossible Dream by Andy Williams. I really like these songs, especially The Impossible Dream. One time when I played it, my sister told me that the song was actually from the Don Quixote musical, Man de la Mancha. And since she brought up Don Quixote, I decided to rewatch the VeggieTales episode again, where I noticed that they actually quote the song in the episode.
Poncho, I believe I just had the impossible dream. This is my quest, to follow that star.
What star? I thought we were talking about the food factory.
No matter how hopeless, no matter how far.
It's across the street.
To fight for the right without question or...
Sure, that sounds wonderful.
I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, from that point on, that song became permanently associated in my mind with Don Quixote. Now, not too long ago, when I was driving home from work, I was listening to some music and talking to my fiance about how her day went. And she told me that she and a friend went on a walk and ended up by that windmill in Golden Gate Park. And while she was telling me this story, Impossible Dream just so happened to have been the song that was playing at the moment, and at this point, everything that I had just mentioned about my history with Don Quixote was immediately in the forefront of my mind, and I pictured myself wearing armor made of pots and pans, similar to the VeggieTales episode, standing in a field, ready to face off and fight the windmill in Golden Gate Park. Anyway, I hope this explains just a little more as to how my mind works and how I come up with ideas. Let's get back to how I planned to bring this idea to life. So to get myself a suit of armor made of pots and pans, I headed shopping with my buddy Josiah.
Wait, I did.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I had no real plan. We just knew that we needed a good breastplate and a good helmet.
Oh,
Let's see. Here. And then like here. Right?
pretty much.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, dude. This is perfect for the helmet, no? Does it look good?
Max Aura.
Perfect.
On the shoulders. Yes, exactly.
So 2 of those.
I thought for a second you were gonna say like for a cup.
The cod piece.
A cup.
And on the way home, we also picked up some pillows that we would, place under the armor. And now that we had everything we needed, we just had to make the suit of armor.
Solid as a rock.
All right, how does that feel?
That feels good.
That's solid.
I think I'm ready for battle.
Suit up. How do I look?
It looks good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Honestly, I thought it looked great. Then we headed to Golden Gate Park to take the photo on my Canon R6 using my 10 to 18 millimeter variable lens.
Oh. Oh.
Something, man.
I put my hands up to give a thumbs up and everything falls apart.
But when we got there, I realized that the windmill was much bigger than I remembered.
There it is. Oh my God. There it is. Fuck. That's a lot bigger than I remember.
So finding a good place to stand to get the composition that I wanted to was a little challenging.
You could, but we could probably get closer.
But how much closer could we get while still keeping it within frame? I can't really move my head too fast.
You are getting recorded. This is great.
That's fine. That's part of it.
This is perfect.
Do you think they respected Don Quixote as well? Yeah, it's facing the wrong direction. He's scared of me. He doesn't want to look me in the eye. Where's a good angle where we could see it?
Okay, yeah.
I think we
Good
might
go.
have to cross the street again.
Okay.
Thanks.
But we ended up choosing the sidewalk across the street, kind of doing a little bit of like forced perspective work.
And with that, the giant has been defeated. We got some cool photos. A lot of people were taking pictures of me. I don't know why.
Me neither.
Doesn't that have some sort of historical value?
Yep.
What is it?
No clue.
Well, anyway, here we are at the windmill in San Francisco. It holds historical value, but in my eyes, it's nothing but a villain that needs to be taken care of by a hero, by a knight. Anyway.
Now, all that's left is the editing. So I opened the pictures in Photoshop, and honestly, I like the composition of the photo that I took of Josiah, like the test shot. I liked that a little better than of the photo that he took of me. Sorry, Josiah. So I stretched out the photo of me to fit the perspective of the picture that I took of him. But this left all these blank spaces on the end of the frame, so I used Photoshop's generative AI to fill in the gaps. But as you can see, we still have the issue of the sidewalk, the streets, and all those signs being visible. And if I want this photo to feel like a fantasy style photo, we can't have any of that. So after I masked myself out and placed myself on a separate layer, I again used Photoshop's generative AI to cover all of that up, turning Golden Gate Park into a field perfect for a medieval fight against a giant. All I had left to do was to throw the photo into Lightroom Classic and give it a grade that really makes it feel like it belongs in some sort of fantasy storybook. There was one problem though. I genuinely hated how much AI I used in this photo. I tried to use AI as little as possible, and this photo is like 50% AI generated. You can even see the quality difference between what I captured on camera and what the AI came up with, and I just could not stand that. So I waited like a month until the weather was the same conditions that it was when I took the original photo, and then I headed back to Golden Gate Park where I just started taking pictures of everything. I wanted to capture as many assets as I could so that I could cover up all of the modern elements in the original photo with the assets that I had just captured earlier that day, ending with a photo that was 100% me and 0% AI. Now I feel like I don't have to explain how I came up with this idea. It seems pretty self-explanatory to me. I mean, I have a baseball bat with a chop saw blade in it, so of course I'm gonna want to take a picture of me playing baseball with it and like cutting a baseball in half. All I had to figure out was how to do that. First thing I did was I bought myself some baseballs and some fishing wire. The baseballs for obvious reasons, and the fishing wire because I was planning to cut the baseball in half. Duh, and then suspend it in mid-air using the fishing wire for the photo. All I had to do before seeing if that was actually a good plan was cut the baseball in half. Now, I don't have a chop saw, I don't have a bandsaw, and I don't even have like a vise to hold the baseball securely in. I didn't have anything that would help me safely cut a baseball in half. So I decided, hey, I'm just gonna grab the biggest serrated knife that I have and try and do it by hand. I got relatively far, considering the circumstances, but once I got to like that center core part, it just didn't end well for me. So, time for plan B. I was going to try and cut the baseball with one of those like PVC pipe cutter things, which I don't have. So I made a trip to the local Lowe's, with my baseball of course, to see if I could find one that could fit an entire baseball in it. Sadly, I couldn't find any big enough, so instead I just grabbed like a handsaw and decided once I got home I was just gonna send it. But before I left, I went back to where the PVC pipe cutters were just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I'm glad I did, because it turns out they just had them out there for like in-store use. And since I brought the baseball with me, I just cut it in half right then and there in the store.
We're good. We don't gotta buy anything.
So with that out of the way, it was finally time to poke some holes in the baseball halves and put the fishing wire in using some hot glue. Then I set up some stands and hung the baseball from it to see if the hot glue fishing wire combo would actually hold the weight, which surprisingly it did. Now you might have noticed the hoodies and the shirts that I've been wearing throughout this video. And if you like them and want your own hoodie with a picture of my grandmother holding a gun on it, you can pick up this hoodie for yourself along with shirts and posters of my most popular photos from the Daily Hard Photo series I did last year. Also, I finally added the photos from the last 30 days of the series. So if you wanted any of these photos in poster form, t-shirt form, or on a hoodie, you can finally pick it up for yourself at schlanman.store. Also, photo book coming soon. Now at this point, I didn't exactly know how I wanted this photo to turn out, so I had to do some tests in my backyard.
All right, so I'm setting up the camera here, doing a quick test to see how I like the framing and to also help me decide which lens I want to use. Right now, I want to test the 18-25, which is this lens, and this lens. I guess let's get started. It's windy, that might mess with everything. All right, with my incredible baseball swing here, it looks something like, we already got an issue with the 8mm. You can see everything. Like you can see everything. So I'd have to figure that out, but so far, I think the framing is looking so much cooler. If I can turn this the right way. It already looks so much cooler. See, so now I can be like right here, or even here, Thing is though, I'm trying to figure out the right swing, because the ones I'm hitting, these are more like a bunt, you know? I'm like halfway there because I still want to keep the bat close. If I, right here, so this is the pose I gotta have. All right, it's raining, so I gotta take all this stuff down. But this is this is definitely the lens I'm going for this photo.
With that decided, the second that the weather was nice and I actually had a free day, I did my best baseball player cosplay and headed out to find a field that I could, take this photo on. It was surprisingly difficult to find an open field. I ended up going to like 5 different fields. 4 of them were being used, and the only one that wasn't was on school property, which for obvious reasons wasn't ideal. I don't want to be swinging this thing around anywhere near a school, but the sun was setting and I was running out of time, so fuck it, we ball. I set up my camera on a tripod and hung the baseball in front of it, and once I had everything set up, I very carefully and very discreetly took my post-apocalyptic murder tool out of the guitar case that I carried it around in, so I'm not walking around in public with a post-apocalyptic murder tool. I took a few swings, took a few photos, and very quickly put it back. But I wasn't done. I can't be playing baseball on an empty field. So I put my camera on a timer and decided to run to a few of the positions on the infield so I could comp them in Photoshop later. Now, I wasn't able to get all of the positions because there were some kids showing up for practice and I was getting embarrassed. So I just packed everything up and left. Once in Photoshop, I painted out the fishing wire and then started comping in the different versions of myself and duplicating a few of them so that I could actually fill out the infield. Of course, I changed the colors too, so that it would in fact look like a different team. From there, I sent the photo into Lightroom Classic to give it a color grade. I really wanted this photo to have that same vibe that you would see in a photo in one of those like 90s kids sport magazines. I mean, the photo is so over the top, and I wanted the colors in the color grade to match that energy as well. Now, I had originally planned for this video to have me taking 5 different hard photos, but it has already taken me way too long to get this video out, and when I went out to find an empty 4-way intersection to take the photo idea I had of the running a red light, I couldn't find anything. So I decided, screw it, we're only doing 3 photos so that I can actually get this video out. So, no running a red light photo and no shadow boxing photo. For now, at least. Instead, the final photo will be me dunking in my underwear. I don't even know where this photo idea came from. Basically, picture me midair about to dunk so hard that the clothes that I'm wearing are like tearing off because I guess I'm flying through the air that fast. So I picked up some basketball shorts and one of those like mesh t-shirts to make this happen. Also, before you say anything, yes, I had to pick up some basketball shorts because I don't own any, alright? I hate wearing shorts. I just cycle through like the same 5 pairs of pants. Anyway, when I got home, I took some test shots in my backyard to figure out which composition I like better. Also, I hope that these test shots help you understand kind of what I'm envisioning a little better when I say dunking in my underwear. Now, unlike the previous 2 photos, which were both taken on my Canon R6, I wanted to take this photo on my Sony a7S III, and to actually take this photo, I needed a real basketball court. So I met up with my friend Zach, who the real Schlanman fans will recognize from my White Boy Summer videos.
Check me out. Check this out. Fuck! No! What the fuck? What? Check this out. That's what happens when you play basketball.
He works at a rec center that has a basketball court, so it was perfect. Before we took the photo, however, we worked out a little bit together to get a quick pump on because, fun fact, I kind of hate how I look, so he helped me get a quick pump on, get some blood flowing, so that in the photo, when I was shirtless, I would look a little less like myself. And while we were waiting for everyone to leave, because of course I'm not going to do this with people around, we played some horse, which I suck at. Once everybody had actually left, we started setting everything up to actually take the photo. We took a few practice shots to make sure everything was good and the framing was right. Then I did it in my underwear.
Let's take a look at me like a fucking idiot.
But to actually fully get the effect that I wanted, I also had to put on the uniform, rip it,
I can't do it.
and then do it again. Then I finally put my clothes back on and got a few photos of me just tossing the clothes in the air. So with all of these photos, I went home where, you guessed it, threw them into Photoshop. And I got to work combining the photos together to really make it look like the clothes were tearing off of my body mid-air. I merged some of the photos of me in my underwear with the photos of me wearing the torn uniform, and of course, comping in the photos of just the clothes floating behind me to really get that sort of flowy look. And with that, these are my 3 newest hard photos. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and let me know if the effort difference and the time that I put into these photos is noticeable from the photos that I did last year during my daily series. And if you guys like my work and enjoy taking hard photos of your own, I have a challenge for you. I want to see your hardest photos, specifically anything fantasy themed like knights, wizards, anything really. You can submit your photos on the r/Schlanman subreddit, and soon I'll be making a video reacting to and ranking your submissions. So keep an eye out for a short video coming out soon where I'll explain the rules and everything a little more in depth. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and remember, stay hard.